They're trying to, obviously now knowing what you just said, conflate this idea that you were looking for potentially handling classified documents. So if you weren't looking for them and that's not what you're handling, then that seems that that would be a moot issue as well.
Yes, it's a very moot issue. Sorry, guys. We're going to have to move on to the next story. I'm not, I don't have clearance to touch or go through classified documents. You actually have to have clearance to do that if they're classified. These were declassified, is my understanding. But again, I'm not the attorney that was handling this, haven't been. I don't plan on being. There are a team of attorneys that were in Florida today that are dealing with this and have been on this matter since their first reach out with NARA, and then some additional attorneys have been joined that team. But no, my search was for the Attorney General in New York and had nothing to do with classified documents and NARA at all.
In case you missed that, Trump's attorney, Alina Habba, accidentally admitted that she wouldn't have been able to go through the documents that were stored at Mar-a-Lago because, quote, I don't have clearance to touch or go through classified documents. And if your entire argument is that the documents were declassified, well, I'm not sure she did the Trump team any favors with that one. You can also tell the moment she knows she screwed up because she says, you actually have to have a clearance to do that. If they're classified, these were declassified, is my understanding. That's like getting pulled over for swerving all over the road at night, and the cops are like, why were you swerving? And you're like, because I'm drunk, is what I would say if I had been drinking, but I haven't. That's the level of our discourse right now. I guess it's true what they say, you get what you pay for, and considering Trump's long history of not paying his attorneys, kind of all starts to make sense. And of course, you'll notice that after admitting on air that she wouldn't be able to deal with classified documents before immediately walking back her admission, she ultimately just punts and explains that she's not even the lawyer in charge of this because at the end of the day, even Trump's own attorneys recognize what a shitstorm all of this is. Even his own attorneys recognize the extraordinary legal exposure that comes from trying to defend a guy who is physically incapable of not breaking the law. Take, for example, the fact that Trump's attorney who is dealing with the Mar-a-Lago search, Christina Bobb, reportedly signed a letter declaring that all materials taken from the White House to Mar-a-Lago had been returned to the National Archives. And, well, slight problem, they weren't, considering the FBI recovered over 300 documents from Mar-a-Lago. So either Trump lied to her and she trusted him, or she's got as much respect for the truth as her boss does, but either way, she's probably going to learn pretty quickly that breaking the law has consequences. And just to debunk this idea that Trump had unilateral declassification authority, no strings attached, everything can be done with the wave of a hand. That's wrong. In reality, there are still processes that Trump would have had to follow. For example, there are regulations under the most recent executive order issued by Obama in 2009 regarding statutory command that requires consultation with the agency that originally classified information before anyone may try to declassify it. Trump would also be restricted from declassifying documents containing information related to nuclear weapons and intelligence agents. And lo and behold, there just so happen to be materials identified as human source information picked up by the DOJ. So when these Trump mouthpieces like Alina Habba pretend that Trump was a one-man declassification machine, they are conveniently leaving out the fact that he would still have to follow the rules regarding exactly how those documents would be declassified. And most importantly, the 2009 executive order also made one more point worth noting, that no official leaving government service may remove classified information from the government's control or direct that information be declassified in order to remove it from agency control, meaning that because these documents were still classified and Trump took them, he broke the law. And even if he did declassify them, which he didn't, but just humor me for a second, declassifying them so that he could retroactively justify his theft is still illegal. In other words, any way you cut it, Trump doesn't have a leg to stand on. And by the way, that's just one tenuous argument that Republicans have been trying to prop up. There are about a dozen others, but the fact is that they are all so pathetic and baseless that even Republicans have begun showing up on air to debunk the BS spewing from the Trump team.
I personally think for them to have taken things to the current point, they probably have pretty good evidence. But that's speculation, and until we see that, it's hard to say. Now, let me just say, I think the driver on this from the beginning was loads of classified information sitting in Mar-a-Lago. People say this was unprecedented. Well, it's also unprecedented for a president to take all this classified information and put them in a country club. Okay? And how long is the government going to try to get that back? You know, they jawbone for a year. They were deceived on the voluntary actions taken. They then went and got a subpoena. They were deceived on that, they feel. And the facts are starting to show that they were being jerked around. And so how long do they wait? I think the whole idea of a special master is a bit of a red herring. The only documents that have been taken, it seems to me, that there's a legitimate concern about keeping away from the government and insulating the government from would be documents relating to his private lawyer communications, him as an individual and his outside lawyers. If there's stuff like that, fine, identify it. There doesn't appear to be much of it. I'm not sure you need a special master to identify it, but what people are missing is that all the other documents taken, even if they claim to be executive privilege, either belong to the government because they're government records, even if they're classified, even if they're subject to executive privilege, they still belong to the government and go to the archives. And any other documents that were seized, like news clippings and other things that were in the boxes containing the classified information, those were seizable under the warrant because they show the conditions under which the classified information was being held. So I think it's a red herring. I think it would, at this stage, since they've already gone through the documents, I think it's a waste of time.
The level of classification that we're talking about here for these documents, beyond top secret, beyond sensitive compartmented, that could very well include the plans for counterstriking against Russia in the event of a nuclear attack. That's something that's part of the football program, which I've written about, where the president chooses options from these documents on how to respond. He has to respond within 20 minutes to prevent annihilation of the United States. And that's one item that could be in these documents. Another is our penetrations by the CIA of foreign embassies, of foreign leaders like Putin, as well as recruitment of spies overseas. So we're talking about incredibly valuable secrets that the Russians, of course, would have been after. The Russians would have been trying to penetrate Mar-a-Lago day and night, and very possibly did recruit spies.
Well, ultimately, it comes down to why did he have all that secret stuff at Mar-a-Lago? I know his team has said that they declassified it, but that's news to the agencies that those documents belong to. And Governor, he had apparently 3 classified documents in his desk. And then the stuff, as Brian detailed on the floor, it shows 5 yellow folders marked top secret and another one that says secret SCI, which means sensitive compartmentalized information. Those are the biggest secrets in the world. Why would he, and apparently the former president went through them in January, why wouldn't he say, oh, you know what? I really need to turn that back over. Why did he have all that stuff at Mar-a-Lago?
So look, we will unquestionably get more lies and obfuscations from the Trump team, but one thing is already clear. It's getting more and more difficult for them to keep their stories straight, because every once in a while, one of these people accidentally slips up and tells the truth. And it betrays the fact that not only are they lying, but that they know they're lying. And you better believe that if we all can see it, then prosecutors do too. Before you go, couple things. First, if you want to support my work, the best way is to subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. And second, if you want to see and hear more from me, check out my website, briantylercohen.com. That way you can get links to my podcast, merchandise, ways to donate to voting rights organizations, and so much more. The thumbnail is also right here on the screen, so go check it out. And as always, thank you so much for watching.